Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Cub Chat Live. We hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our topic today is fishing, and we had to bring back one of our favorite, most hallowed guests. He's a volunteer at the national level of Cub Scouting, and he's also an avid fisherman. You can tell by the shirt he's wearing. Everybody, welcome back, Cub Chat Mike. Mike, how are you?
Aaron, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be back, and I'm very happy to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is fishing. And I did think that my last Cub Chat Live presentation on Scout Sunday would have been my last. I'm getting off the National Cub Scout Committee after so many years. But as the Cub Scout Committee was thinking of topics for this Cub Chat Live, and they would mention fishing, and then they would sort of be quiet because they knew I love fishing. And then they'd come around to it again and mention fishing. And finally, because they were waiting for me to say I would do it, finally, they reeled me in. Finally, they lured me into doing the Fishing Cup Chat. And I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. Love the fishing puns. I think later in the show, everybody stay tuned. Mike said he's got some fishing jokes to share with us later in the show. Shout out to John from New Berlin, Illinois. Hello from Pack 164 in Germany. Very, very good. Fred's coming from the Three Fires Council. They just started their fishing committee there, Mike. Very, very cool. Steve is watching on, Fred's on YouTube. Steve's also on YouTube from Pack 3310 in Akron. John, thank you for tuning in. Wendy, what's up, Mike? I'm sorry, Rob. Mike's right here. Hello, Rob. Good to see you. Justin's here. Aaron's watching. This is great. Fishing is now, Mike, an elective adventure across all of the Cub Scouting ranks. Let's get started with our discussion. What do the folks need to know?
Well, thanks, Aaron. And I do want to make that very point because when the Cub Scout program was updated, fishing was now an elective adventure across all of the ranks. And that's important because we have multi-rank dens. And by that, we have packs that have combined dens. You might have a wolf and a bear den together. And so it's important to have adventures that a den leader or the pack can offer for both of those age groups, both of those different programs. And so fishing was now expanded, so it is now available in every single rank, from lion to arrow of light, along with swimming and cycling and conservation. Pinewood Derby is now an adventure that goes to for all of the ranks. So this is very, very special and very important. And I mentioned to you before the show started that the cycling adventure, which is now, again, for an adventure in all the ranks, our pack did that last weekend, and we had lions all the way up to Arrow of Light participating in this particular adventure. And now fishing, which has always been a very, very popular adventure. It's now available in all the ranks, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. The new program is designed to be fun, simple, and easy. So like you said, Pinewood Derby, cycling, other electives like that available across the ranks can be done as dens or as packs, either way. A few more shout outs real quick, Mike, before we let you get started. Jennifer's watching from Madison, Georgia. Rob says his kids participated in the fishing derby. They didn't catch anything, but they're going to try again. It's called fishing, not catching, Mike. I think that's what it's called. That's part of the experience. Rob, good job by you to get involved in something like that. Shout out to Frank from Denton, Maryland. Jessica from Greenville, Tennessee. All right, Mike, let's get this show started. What do the folks need to know?
Okay. So now that we have an adventure for each one of the ranks, starting with the kindergartners and ending with pretty sophisticated Arrow of Light requirements, I would like to show how the requirements have evolved over the ranks as the scouts get older and they able to process more and understand more, and physically they have the physical ability to handle some of these requirements. Let's start with the first slide, because the first slide is a requirement for the lions. These are kindergartners, And what we're asking them to do is to color this particular fish. Some of them will make it look wonderful. Some of them will have more color outside the fish lines than inside. Then we're suggesting that they cut along the dotted lines and use that as a puzzle. And for the first time, these kindergartners see the word fish, F-I-S-H. Some of them don't read yet, and they see what a fish looks like. And if we go to the second slide, you'll see that the second requirement now for these lions is to learn the rules of fishing. We start right at the beginning in the lions with learn the rules of fishing. And while it's a little hard to see that writing, what we're doing is we're listing the rules down the middle of the page, and then we have pictures of what the rules are, and we're asking the kindergartners to draw lines from the rule to the picture. In the middle there is a yellow line, get permission to fish where you plan to fish, and the line goes right over to fishing allowed. So we're letting the youngsters know what the rules are. If we go to the next slide, we're now moving on to first grade. So the kids are a little bit older, but we're still focusing on the rules of fishing. Fish with the proper supervision. And I've drawn the line, give plenty of room to others who are fishing, and draw the line up with a yellow line to the spreading out of the kids along the bank. And so that is the requirement for first graders. But the second slide, the next slide is the next half of the requirement for tigers. And that is, for the first time, look at what a different fish sort of looks like, and where do you find it? Do you find the tuna in a river? No, you're going to find it in the ocean. And so the first graders are asked to draw a line from the tuna to the ocean. So first grade, second grade. Now let's go on to the wolf. That's what the wolf page looks like for the fishing adventure. And the next slide is a snapshot of the adventure and the requirements. So now we're in second grade. The scouts have a little bit more ability to understand. They've learned the rules, at least for 2 different ranks. And now they're going to demonstrate the proper cast for the pole or a rod. That's pretty sophisticated now for a second grader. But the point is that the requirements are expanding as the scouts are able to handle them. And if we go on to the next slide, you'll see that's the bear goes fishing. Now we're talking about third graders. Let's see the requirements on the next slide for the bears. Now, again, it's a little bit small to see, but when you look in your Scout handbook, this is the page from the Scout handbook, and you're learning the local fishing regulations, and you are learning the way to attach a hook, a lure, or a fly. You know, for a third grader, that's pretty tough. For adults, you certainly wouldn't ask the younger scouts, but a third grader is now going to be asked to learn how to attach the bait. Let's go on to Webelos. Now we're in the fourth grade, and the requirements are a little bit more difficult, a little bit more sophisticated. Determine the best type of knot to tie your hook to your line and tie it. Again, for a fourth grader, this line is pretty thin, so that's a pretty significant requirement they have to learn how to do. And then choose the appropriate type of fishing rod and tackle you'll be using. Have an adult review your gear. Now these fourth graders, old enough now to be able to handle a few more requirements. And if we go now to the next slide, I've taken out a little bit out of context, because in our Scout handbook, when you go to the adventure for fishing, you saw that the wolf goes fishing. Behind the requirements are pages that list all the everything you need to know to be able to complete that requirement. And these handbooks are really well done. They're colorful. They've got pictures of bait and lures. So your best guide as you're teaching fishing to your den or to your pack is to use the handbook just to start with. And this page shows you some of the nice illustrations of the requirements that you're going to need to complete. Now, if we go to the last requirements, here we are at the Arrow of Light. And these are the most senior Cub Scouts, as we know. And now the requirements are going to be pretty significant. Determine the best way, the best type of knot to tie to your hook, to your line, and tie it. Tying these flies or the bait or the hook, this is difficult stuff. And then a requirement here I've highlighted: on your own, choose the appropriate type of fishing rod and tackle to be used, and have your adult review it. So now we are having the Scouts really get into the mechanics of fishing. And of course, for each one of these ranks, one of the requirements is go out and fish and enjoy yourself. Now, I've told you that I believe the handbook is just a beautiful, perfect compilation of the information you need to have your younger Scouts learn how to fish. But there are a lot of other outlets out there. There are a lot of other sources that you can look to be able to teach your Scouts to fish. In our council, the Grand Canyon Council, we have at one of our camps a fishing camp each year, and we take older Scouts, BSA Scouts, Cub Scouts, and we teach them to fly fish for the entire week. We teach them to fly knots. We take them to different lakes. So your council may have something that you can be useful as you teach this fishing adventure to your dens and your units. Also, you might want to check the game and fish department of your local state. In Arizona, we have a very active game and fish department, and they have videos. I've watched a number of the videos, and you can show those videos to the Scouts that show them how to tie knots, how to do casting. The videos are wonderful. And in our game and fish, they will loan your pack fishing tackle and rods and reels. It's a first come, first serve, but you need a 1 week advance. But you can get everything you need in Arizona from our local state game and fish department for your unit or your den to go out and fish. So now let's talk a little bit about rods and reels, because I've had some experience with my Cub Scouts with rods and reels. This is just a little bamboo pole, but bamboo rods are fine to be used to give to Cub Scouts to fish. I took our bears fishing a couple of years ago. We all had bamboo poles. We attached the line. It's hard to see. And we put a hook on the end of the line. Aaron, do you think that hook is a little big maybe to go on a Cub Scout line?
Maybe a smidge. Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe. But you know something? We didn't use these, of course, but the kids had no problems. Oh, no, that's the hook that I want on there. We had a wonderful time when the den went with fishing. We had snacks. The kids ran up and down the shore. We had one kid fall in the lake. Not a surprise. Now, guess how many fish we caught when that whole bear den went fishing? How many do you think we caught?
How many kids were there?
7 kids were there. How many fish did we catch with our bamboo rods?
So for 7 kids, I'm going to say 7 fish.
No. We didn't catch a fish at all.
Oh.
I think the kid that fell in the lake was the one that probably sealed the deal. But it's not important. And you said earlier, it's fishing. It's not caching. The bottom line was the kids had an awful lot of fun. Now, as the kids get older, take a look at this reel, this rod and reel. You press the button at this end and you throw the line out. And it's easy for the kids to do because you just press the button, throw it, and then reel it back in. So I strongly recommend this type of a rod and reel once the cubs are old enough and have enough dexterity to be able to actually do a nice cast. Another reel is this reel. Again, you press the button and it's attached to the rod and you throw the line out. I never really liked these very much because I always got the reel all confused and tangled when it came back in. But I bought the reel, so I have to use it. So this is a different type that you can use. The one that my personal preference is, if I'm not fly fishing, is this reel. It's a spin casting reel. You open the bail, you throw the line out, you hold it with your fingers, throw it out, and then you crank it back in, and it's and the bail closes and pulls the line in. This is a very, very good reel to use. This one, I have it. I don't know. I've never used it. Let's not talk about this. I don't even know how it works. But my favorite is the fly casting rod and the fly casting reel. This is the rod where you throw the line. You've attached the monofilament to it, but you throw the line. You're not really throwing the fly. You're throwing the line. But this is a fly fishing rod and reel setup. And it's my favorite, and it's the one that our council teaches our Cub Scouts and our Scouts BSA who go to our camp in the evening. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the bait. The bait is normally in two types of bait. One is bait that's either alive or was alive at one time: worms, salmon eggs, leeches, that type of thing, a shrimp. And then the second type of bait is the man-made bait. And there are all kinds of different baits that you might want to use. And here on the screen now is a picture of a number of different types of baits, normally for lures, normally for bass. And one of the fun things, Aaron, is when you're fishing, is to focus on the names of some of these wonderful lures. Look at this. There's a holo redhead, whatever that is. You've got a popper. Here's one. Here's a little lure, a bass lure, and it is a baby lucky 13. Okay, baby lucky 13 for a bass. And here's one. And it is a runt spook floater. There's so much fun here. Here's a smaller one that's called a tiny runt. But there's all kinds of different bait that you can use. And I brought with me today a bag of gummy worms. Now, would you use gummy worms for bait? I don't know, but you ought to take the gummy worms with you because you can always eat them while you're fishing. Who cares whether the gummy worms work for bait? You can eat them and have some fun with that while you're doing it. Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about fishing apparel and fishing attire, because you got to be styling here. I mean, when you're fishing, you've got to really look the part. And you'll notice here, I've got my Philmont fly fishing shirt on. Philmont every year has an opportunity for councils to bring volunteers and fly fish at the camp. And there are many different places to fly fish. I know the special place. If you're going, let me know, because I know where you're going to catch the big ones. But in any event, the fly fishing apparel is important. Certainly you want to have a hat. We're not ready for that picture yet, but we'll leave it up there. We'll leave it up there. But here is, you have to have a hat. Here is a straw hat. Does that work? Of course, a straw hat would be fine.
It's great.
Now, here's a hat, and it's got a trout right on the front. That's a great hat to wear. You're styling with that. And here is the hat that I mentioned, our council fish camp. And when you go to fish camp as a scout and learn to fish, this is the hat you get. And so that's certainly styling. And of course, you can always wear your Philmont, Indiana Jones fishing hat. You can't really lose with this hat. And
That
actually,
looks great on you, Mike.
well, thank you very much. But now put the next picture up that we almost had a second ago, because I want to. Now this fisherman is styling. Take a look at that hat. Look at the apparel there. That fisherman's got a feather in his cap. Now that's styling. And notice something else. This is kind of hard to see, but he's got one hand on the fish and the other hand is on the net. Okay, where is the rod, the fly fishing rod? He's holding it in his teeth. That's styling. That is absolutely styling, and you want to do that. Now, what about this? What about these? These are fish shoes. I mean, would you wear these at the campsite, or would you wear these when you're fishing? No, get rid of these. That's not styling. That's not good. That's not good. But I think that it's fun to have those around. Maybe now you may be out with your family. You have younger siblings. Maybe you've got the family dog. What about something for the younger ones? Well, how about this? How about this? Here's the fish with the tail going back and forth. Now, is that going to be fun? Yeah. The point here, Aaron, is when you're fishing, you're out in the beautiful environment. You're having fun. You're catching fish. You're not catching fish. It's a family event. It's an event for the family pet. I remember in years past catching a fish and the family dog grabbing the fish and heading down the bank. Bottom line is, it's really, really fun. So we've talked about, now, is there anyone you need to shout out to for a second here?
Yeah, let me get just a few shout outs, Mike, if I could. Rich from Edwardsville, Illinois. Shout out to Pack 391 in Lancaster, California. A question from Miss Sprott, who says the fishing regulations in Germany are strict. Keep in mind, this is an elective adventure. This is not a requirement. So, the purpose of the elective adventures is to give folks the option to do them if people want to do them, right? If it's right for the families. If the fishing elective is not right for the families in your area, maybe that's not an elective you can pursue. You can still go fishing, right? Or you can still do something like that, but maybe you don't go through it as an elective. Shout out to Rusty from New Philadelphia, Ohio, DJ from right down the road in Irving, Melissa from Auburn, California, Daryl from Grayson, Georgia. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in today. Appreciate that. We had a couple of folks mentioning, maybe you can address this. I'm sure you're familiar with this, Mike, the Certified Angler Instructors Program. That has come up a little bit in the chat. Can you tell folks what that is?
Actually, I'm not aware of what that is. When we put on our camp in our fly fishing camp in the summer, we work with Trout Unlimited, and we have our volunteers. So I'm actually not familiar with that, although I assume that if there is a certification required, the Trout Unlimited folks are going to have it.
Yeah. I don't know exactly either, folks, and there's several people mentioning that, and I'm not an expert either, but I know it is some sort of training program that allows people to then go teach fishing to Scouts and Cub Scouts, and I think even Scouts BSA members. Jessica suggests using gummy worms to help teach the Scouts how to bait a hook.
Yes, that's a very good idea. Then you can eat the gummy worm again.
After you take it off the hook, though. That's my recommendation there. Lanissa has done something really appropriate. She has tagged a friend in her comments. Be sure and do that. Rob says they use those dancing fish toys at their Cub Scout roundups at the schools, and the kids go crazy for them. Yeah, it's a great recruiting tool, right?
Yeah, I want to mention, Aaron, that the comment where in Germany the regulations to fish are kind of difficult.
Okay, sure.
You were right to point out that fishing is an elective. It's called 6 and 2 is what we do. 6 required adventures, 2 electives, and the fishing is just one of many elective adventures that you can earn. But I would also like to say this: the requirements here are well spelled out in the handbook, and the help and how you would satisfy those requirements are spelled out in the handbook. But in Cub Scouts, this is do your best, do the best you can. If you're out with your den or you're out with your pack, and one of the requirements needed to be tweaked a little bit because it's going to fit the circumstance that you're now in, that would be just fine. So don't worry about the fact that the local regulations may be more difficult. You can certainly adapt your training and the kids' experience to the situation and the facts that you've got them at that time.
Great information, Mike. Jessica says, if anybody has any questions about certified anglers, she can help that. Thank you, Jessica. We can always rely on our viewers. I know you got a couple of more things. I just want to address one more thing that you said earlier, Mike. I think you said you guys work with Trouts Unlimited. When I was a Cub master way back in the day, Mike, we used to go to fishing at like state parks, and they would provide all the equipment that you needed. That was awesome. There are resources in your community. There are organizations that want to take kids fishing. Like that's their goal, is to create the next generation of avid fishermen. So encourage you to take advantage of that. There are people out there who will do everything they can to get your Cub Scouts on the water. It's called fishing, not catching. So we can't guarantee you'll catch something, but you'll have a good time fishing for sure. Mike, what else do the folks need to know?
Well, what I have a couple of tests for you now, Aaron, and I'd like to know if you know the answers to what I'm going to ask you here. And the first one is, where do fish sleep? Do you know where the fish sleep?
Where do fish sleep? It's got to be in some sort of bed.
A water bed. Well done. You got that one.
Very nice, very nice.
What kind of music should you listen to while fishing? What kind of music?
I don't know.
This is a little deceptive because the answer is something catchy. You need catchy music if you're fishing.
I was going to guess something with bass.
That would have been good. What do fish take to stay healthy?
Some kind of
vitamin C. Vitamin C.
Of course, vitamin C, yes.
Now, this is cute. What do you call a girl hanging off the side of a fishing boat?
I don't know. What?
A net.
A net. I like it.
Why did the fish go to Hollywood?
I don't know. Why?
It wanted to be a starfish.
Starfish, yes. So
now,
many
this one,
jokes.
This one... Listen, we're Cub Scouts. We want to have fun.
It's what we do.
And the kids love these terrible dad type jokes. They really do enjoy, and they groan.
Yes, yes.
Now, this one I guarantee you know. Fill the last part of the sentence in.
Okay.
You can tune a guitar, but you can't
tune a fish.
That's right. You can't tune a fish. Okay, and now I also want to ask you, the last one I have here came from the April issue of Scouting Life. I love the magazine. I always read the jokes first, and so I decided that this fish joke was the perfect one to end my presentation with. And the question is this: where does a fish keep its money? Or where does a fish go to get money? And the answer is a riverbank.
Perfect. It is that is the perfect joke to go out on, I think, Mike.
Well, Aaron, it's been fun talking about fishing. I love fishing, as you know. We talked about the requirements for the different ranks and that we have a fishing adventure in every single solitary rank. We talked a little bit about the type of rods and reels that you can use. We talked about the bamboo poles that you can use with Cub Scouts that don't really have that sophistication. I tried to brag a little bit about the fly fishing and the fly fishing curriculum that our council has. We talked a little bit about bait, and the lures. And I'm going to, as soon as we're off, I'm going to start eating my gummy bears or gummy worms. I'm sorry. These things are pretty good. And it's time for lunch for me here in Arizona. And then we had some fun with some jokes. So this, I think, was a wonderful opportunity to share one of my very favorite subjects to the rest of the scouting community.
Well, you did wonderful as usual, Mike. The perfect combination of knowledge of the Cub Scout program and of fishing. I'm going to leave everybody with a comment from Ashley, who's coming from Pack 295 in Guyton, Georgia. We'll be fishing at our next camp out in April, Ashley says. Ashley, have a great time. I know it's going to be awesome. Thank you for all you do. Mike, thanks so much for joining. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Listen, Cub Scout Mike saying to everybody, go out there and keep fishing.
Go out there and keep fishing. Thank you all for watching today. Best of luck on your next fishing expedition. Have a good weekend. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody. See you, Mike.
Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure to catch next week's episode. Same time, same place. And let us know how we're doing at go.scoutingmagazine.org/rate-cubchat. We love feedback and ideas for new episodes. And you can visit blog.scoutingmagazine.org/cubchatlive for all our past video episodes. You can see us live. Except it's recorded, but it was live. Okay, see you next week.